Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Ultimate Fantasy Three-Way presented by FantasyDogs.com, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know to start playing daily fantasy sports. I'm Sean Big Papa Williams.
I'm Jamie Learjet Lear.
And I'm Chris Smart.
And we'll be bringing you the breakdown of this week's action. First, as you know, we like to start off in the Ultimate Fantasy Three-Way with a breakdown. But before we get to the breakdown, we want to talk about Week 2 in the NFL a little bit. And this is a really hard week from the daily fantasy perspective, as we have a one-week sample size, which everybody's trying to extrapolate all the data they can. But it's really the worst sample size you could ever have, and it creates a lot of misplays, in my opinion.
It's really, really rough because a lot of teams, we obviously don't see them go live very much, and so you're looking going, wow, is that team just way better as far as their offensive line play than I thought? Is that defense way better than I thought? A great example is last year, Tennessee blowing out, just whooping Kansas City, and you're like, oh my God, Tennessee's a world beater.
Right.
Not happening. They just stink the whole year, and it's how did we ever lose that game?
And all due fairness, Tennessee was world beating Week 2 as well until they lost their quarterback.
And is it just an anomaly?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where they could come out Week 1 and then, come out Week 2 and just lay an egg.
Yeah, and we've seen that in the past, and it can kill your lineup. So what I would recommend this week is don't say I have one core and I'm going with that. Run a few different cores out there.
I'd stay away from Ogletree. That's kind of how I roll. I would avoid Ogletree.
Oh, the Ogletree.
I would look for the player that was a little too good that you were like, where did he come from?
Yeah. And there are a couple of them this weekend.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll talk about a few of them. But first, let's get into this week's breakdown of the over-under lines. And the first game is the second highest over-under, the highest over-under line of the week at 55 points. And Murr's going to give us the breakdown on Dallas at Philadelphia. Murr, how does that game look?
Oh, this is a fun game to break down for exactly what we already said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, last week we had Dallas against Eli Manning, the Giants. Eli Manning looked completely lost and horrible. So is that the Dallas D? Is that the Giants are awful and Eli sucks? I don't know. And now Des Bryant's out as well. On the Philly side of it, you have a line that looked horrible against a defense that I thought was going to be trash. So I'm completely confused on that.
Right.
At the same time, when I go back to it, I really look at how did you push? How did you dominate on the O-line? And Philly, they ended up with like 64 rushing yards between their three running backs. Their three running backs got bailed out due to touchdowns and catches. So it's really a difficult game for a lot of reasons. That being said, I don't ever think you can go away from Sam Bradford. The quarterback on the Philly offense is always going to be good just because that's what they do.
It's the amount of plays as well.
Yeah, it's volume.
He's cheap for who he is and for the volume. That's the real problem.
You're getting the Drew Brees level of number of plays at a mid-tier price. So I don't think you can go away from that.
And we saw a lot of lineups last week win and place really well in contests with Sam Bradford. So
he was underpriced last week. I definitely agree with that. And, Jordan Matthews coming off a big week last week. This week he's likely to get shadowed by Carr, who did a job on Odell Beckham, but a lot of that was Eli Manning, so you end up with that weirdness. In my opinion, he's a little expensive as far as Jordan Matthews goes. Don't love any of their other wide receivers currently, just because I don't really know who to play. Can't very well recommend anybody. Really, I kind of like the Dallas side a lot more in this game. I like John Randall because I feel like they're going to run the ball at it. I know the DeMarco Murray revenge. I see it.
I love it. Call Joseph Randall, John Randall.
John Randall every week. Old Jonathan. and with Des Bryant down, I really, again, Terrence Williams liked him last week. Loved him this week.
He's underpriced. My worry is that everybody in the free world is going to have him as a free square on their lineup.
And it also brings in the Jason Witten factor too, because he obviously stepped up last week and had 2 touchdowns. So Romo it's going to be his safety blanket.
Absolutely.
Again. definitely. So
absolutely, and I do like both those players for that reason. You know, I'm not quite as high on Witten this week just because I do feel like the Eagles do have a little more athletic linebackers than what we saw in the Giants. That being said, their safeties suck as well, so there's obviously some play there.
Week 2, baby. Which way is it going to go?
Everybody kind of, you know, Cole Beasley's cheap. He's going to play. He's going to start with Des Bryant injury. And then, of course, Lance Dunbar, their new slot receiver that you get to play at running back. You know, unofficial stat, he started 90% of the time outside the slot receiver position.
I mean, was there a much more surprising play last week than him lining up in the slot for as many plays as he did?
I don't remember him lining up in the backfield. You know, we were in Vegas. I was a bit faded, but that's the way it goes. Every time I looked up, the guy was lined up in the slot, and he was catching balls from the slot. Now, he may not have done a whole hell of a lot with it, but he did enough at his price point to make it worth it.
Oh, yeah. And the question is like, if they get into a shootout with Philly, like, does he super exceed value, becoming like a Welker-ish type, go to march down the field and you can plug and play him at running back at that price tag. It's criminal. Like, it might be a really sneaky play. Like, you might want to save that one for your sneaky play a little bit later. But does that pretty much wrap up the Dallas-Philadelphia matchup?
That's good.
All right, with that said, we'll move right along to my game, which is Atlanta at New York with a 51 over-under. Look, this game is probably going to be billed by everybody in the industry as the Julio Jones show. All players from these offenses are in play theoretically. If Eli Manning, once again, this is the week 2 talk. If Eli Manning is actually right and just had a bad game, Odell Beckham should have a monster game. They both disappointed owners in week 1. I think that'll keep ownership percentage fairly low for the elite talents that they are. If you decide to hitch your wagon to Odell Beckham and Eli, I have no problem. The only other option on that side of the ball is you can take the guess of who's going to be either Ruben Randall or Preston Parker at wideout. Do you guys have any sort of inkling of which wideout
is going to be? I have no love for Parker because that guy dropped 2 of them that hit him in a bad spot with the hands. So I'm not on that Parker play at all.
I don't know about the opposite wideout just because the number 2, that is a guess. They alternate. My guy, though, on that is going to be Jennings, the running back.
Okay.
I really think the Giants used him as a feature back. They used him last week, did not take him out in goal line.
Right.
So it was, most people you're worried about just getting taken by, vultured by Williams, and that was not the case.
And Vereen's the one that got some decent play, and he had a few good runs there as well.
And that leads me into my next argument, guys, which is the Giants running backs are worth a look, but once again, it's a guessing game. Who's going to get the targets? Jennings, Vereen, or are we going to get Green 0-0-0 with the Williams play at the goal line? We didn't see that week 1, but Is that an anomaly? Is that the way it's going to be? I don't know. I'm fading the Giants running back situation. Like I said, Matty Ice and Julio are a great combo. My concern is the entire free world is going to be on Julio and Matty Ice after their beast performance.
Plus, and on top of that, though, they usually, as far as, Matty Ice plays well within his own confines at home in Atlanta. When they go on the road, they almost cycle into a different team.
That's actually a great stat line. And Matty Ice on the road throws roughly 2-to-1 picks to touchdown ratio. At home, he's the opposite. And closer to 3 at home. 3 touchdowns to a pick. I just think the Matty Ice fade here is easy. I think after the Giants shut down Desi B last week, the Julio fade might be an easy one this week, and it can put you on an island. That's where I'd be on this game, is if I wanted a piece, go Giants, try to fade the Atlanta side, and I think you might be happy with the results. But God only knows because it's week 2.
And especially with Julio being $9,300, the most expensive wideout out there. Now, obviously, last week he proved that he, was worth all that with his huge 30-point week. But is that going to be consistent every single week? I think not. So,
and again, that's also against the Eagles running the high volume and doing all that. So I don't know. And like we said before, between the 3-headed monster on the Giants, I am Jennings all in.
Well, there you go.
I am all about it.
You know what? That's the beauty of daily fantasy and the beauty of this show. Sometimes we're going to agree, sometimes we're going to disagree. And I'm fading Jennings. Murs all over him. I know several players that are like, ooh, I can sneaky play Vereen cheap, and hope he catches balls and gets into the end zone. We'll only know who's wrong come the end of the game.
And that's the other thing too with this game is, you've got the Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman aspect as well.
Mm-hmm.
When Joseph Randle ran all over the Giants D last week. So I know Tevin Coleman looked really good last week against the Eagles, and he's going to be at a min value. As far as
with Freeman healthy, are they going to split carries?
Right.
That's what concerns me there. Yeah, and it looks like a split back situation. But against the Giants, they might both reach value. Who knows? And game flow is going to be a huge factor in this. I think your best bet is to just either go with your gut and guess here, or just fade. And I think that's where I'm leaning this week. But with that said, I'm pretty sure that wraps up the Atlanta-New York Giants game. That'll take us to Lear, who has the action on the next highest over-under line, which is Seattle at Green Bay at 49. Lear, give us that breakdown.
All right. Well, as far as that goes, this is the Sunday night game, so it's a primetime game, so the lights are going to be on both of these teams. Obviously, both these teams played in the championship last year, so we know that both of these teams are going to obviously bring it this week, especially when Seattle took one on the chin last week at St. Louis. But as far as that goes, I'm all over the Marshawn Lynch train this week. Last year against Green Bay, he had 2 monster games when it came to playing Green Bay. He averaged over 150 yards and at least 1 touchdown. And with Eddie Lacy, he basically is one of those guys where he could show up one week and not show up the next. And he had an okay week last week. He had 73 yards against the Bears, and a touchdown, but nothing to write home about. But against Seattle's defense, which is one of the best ones in the league, I'm definitely staying away from Eddie Lacy because he costs more than Marshawn Lynch.
But on that point, Seattle's defense is one of the best defenses in the league, if not the best defense at home. Away they get thrashed, and last week they got thrashed by the St. Louis running game. I think Lacy's going. Benny Cunningham sodomized them. Yeah. I think what happens is Eddie Lacy gets back to form. This is the week I have Eddie Lacy dropping a 30-burger. I don't think that defense is remotely the same in-house as they are on the road.
I kind of lean towards getting the mid-20s out of him, 30s upside, and I think a lot of it too is that he does catch passes.
Yeah.
I was a little underwhelmed with his performance last week. I put him maybe dropping the 40 last week, and I was completely wrong.
Right.
I think he's coming due.
Which might keep ownership percentages low, dude. I'm really disappointed in daily fantasy when people tend to get burned by a player.
Yeah.
The next week, their ownership percentage is just not even remotely where it should be. And so far from the early return games, if you entered Thursday night on FanDuel, where we can see the actual ownership percentages of a lot of players, we've seen that the players that burned people last week are extremely under-owned. Mm-hmm. Now, DraftKings, we don't get that luxury because of the late roster swaps.
Right.
But usually the ownership percentages stay constant throughout the industry with the price fluctuations. But there were no huge price differences. When you factor those in, I think we're going to see people stray off of them.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the quarterback aspect of this game, Aaron Rodgers, had played, them twice last year, where he had 2 games, both under 200 yards passing, and same thing with Russell Wilson. So I don't know if, these guys are going to come out and blow the doors off of either defense. But I do look for at least Aaron Rodgers to, have a good amount of attempts this week, going against Seattle. But as far as their price points, Wilson's $1,000 less than him, but there are other quarterback options that I love much, much more than these 2 guys going into this week as well.
Well, and to be honest, with the pricing the way it is on Green Bay, if you really like Aaron Rodgers and you think he's going to, at home, just destroy Seattle, buy all the pieces and buy a different quarterback cheaply so you can put in good running backs around him, a good tight end around him, and a good defense, and just fade that aspect of it. You'll get your points anyway from the wide receiver targets if you're right. and that way you save the money. He's just too expensive, in my opinion, to pay up for.
Yeah, and then as far as the receiving targets from this end, you got Randall Cobb, Devontae Adams, and James Jones. James Jones coming out of the woodwork last week. Nobody was on that play. 2 touchdowns.
He couldn't be.
But he only had four targets. He had 4 catches for 2 touchdowns. Devontae Adams had 4 catches for 58 yards, and Randall Cobb basically had 5 catches for 60-some yards and a touch. So nothing to blow the doors off there. But one play I do kind of like this week is a dirty Jimmy Graham play. He did have a touchdown last week. He also had 8 targets for 6 catches at 51 yards. So he had quite a few targets there. And he's also a threat to take that red zone targets. As far as when they get there. So I think Jimmy Graham, with his price point too, he's only $5,800. So he might make a nice not if your tight end play, but a nice flex play.
Well, it's unusual. I mean, he did lead his team in targets last week, and so that's pretty big for a tight end. They are using him a little more as a more traditional tight end,
right.
But I think a lot of that has to do because their line is a little suspect. But that being said, Martellus Bennett had an all right game, not exactly what we all wanted, but
he had that late dirty touchdown.
He had the late dirty touch,
yeah.
And I think that you can count Jimmy Graham for a late dirty touch.
Yeah, I think so too, and I like Jimmy Graham this week.
Yeah, I mean, I have 0 problems with that play. Like, there are a lot of tight ends I actually like this week. But that pretty much wraps up that game. I think we're good with that. Let's move on to Murr's next game. And these are the 3 games that we picked the lines ourselves. Murr chose the Zona at Chicago game with the line of 45 over under. I don't know about you, but I thought that line was low. And apparently the Vegas bettors did too, as it's already up to 46.5. I would say we're going to get at least another point, maybe a 1.5 out of it, and get it up to 48 before it's all said and done. Murr, break down that game for us, buddy.
This is another one of those games where it's kind of difficult with who they played and what went on. Last week, Kurt Warner, I, of course, love Kurt Warner. I've always loved Kurt Warner. I think this week he will have a good game.
Kurt Warner?
Sorry. Good God.
You mean Carson?
From like 1950
I know.
Here. Carson Palmer, they're the same guy.
They're so sad.
They're statues who throw deep accurately. I won't tell you that much. Yes, so Carson Palmer.
Both past their prime.
Past their prime.
I think we should have just let him roll.
Yeah, I would have gone with it forever.
We probably should have. That would be great.
Oh, Carson Palmer. Same guy. Don't look for Kurt Warner.
He won't be available, folks.
He will not. He'll be on TV broadcasting.
But they may call him.
That's right. So I like Carson Palmer, and I do like both of his targets because I think they're still underpriced. John Brown and Fitzgerald are still both underpriced. I think John Brown is just a little cheaper than Fitzgerald, so I do think a lot of people will be on John Brown. That being said, on the other side of the ball, the Bears, Matt Forte, my biggest concern with Matt Forte coming in was the change in offense. I was a little worried that with John Fox being the head coach for the Bears, that he may not catch enough balls. And last week settled it for me. They're running the same offense that they ran out of that the Broncos ran last year. They are going to throw the running back. He's going to catch plenty of balls. That's not going to be a hindrance to his value. So I do like Matt Forte, not so much as a runner as much as a catcher in that game. And on the other side, as far as the wide receivers on the Bears side, I don't really love any of them, which is kind of shocking. So.
Well, we saw what Zona did last week to the Saints. Like you know what? Like
Alshon's Gimp.
Alshon's Gimpy, and will be shadowed in Gimpy form.
Not going to turn out well. Peterson usually struggles with more athletic type receivers, not the big brooder like. I mean, Alshon coming on a bad.
But he's Gimpy, so he's not going to be able to utilize that. Like, I just don't. I'm with you. I think the fade Chicago wideouts is probably the smarter move here.
If I play any of them, it's going to be Bennett.
Yeah.
That would be the only guy
Black
The
unicorn.
black
I
unicorn.
would really target out of all
And
that.
once again, I said it last year, I'll say it this year. If you're going to give yourself a nickname, we encourage you never to do so. Like, nicknames are given, not announced by your own self. But if you are, please choose one as cool as the Black Unicorn.
Yeah.
Like, it's the only self-proclaimed nickname that I've ever gotten behind.
Well, and I do have to say, here in the Fantasy Three-Way, I still have no desire to get on any of the Cardinals' backs. I don't want any piece of the Johnsons.
No.
Does anyone else want any of the Johnsons?
I mean, dude, you can make the super sneaky play.
Right.
Like, try to roll out.
I don't
Chris
even know
Johnson.
which one. Which one do you
Well,
want?
no, right.
I mean, it's obviously Chris.
That's
as a starter,
that's the problem, dude, and that's week 2, right? How many of these coin flip decisions do you have? And you either have the choice week 2 to make the coin flip decisions and flip that coin, or to just say, I'm not even messing with it, I'm going somewhere else.
And that's more or less what I will do. I'll pick a few of the guys that I just have to feel like I need a piece
Yeah.
of, but for the most part, I'll move on. There's plenty of other
I
guys.
can't fault you on that. So with that said, are we moving on from Zona
Absolutely.
Chicago?
Well, I just want to say one
Okay.
thing is I definitely like Matt Forte, especially, being at home. He obviously had a great week last week. He's going to be the crutch. I mean, John Fox. I mean, look at CJ Anderson last year. The guy has started out this year and has not done a darn thing. And his whole philosophy is he revolves the offense around the running back. And I think Matt Forte is going to be the man, not only in week 2, but the whole year.
Yeah.
And he is going to be a producer, like a 30 burger like he did last week. I'm not saying he's going to do that this week, but I guarantee you he'll at least have 25 points. And, he might even put up another 30 burger just because of the attempts that he will get, and then also the targets that he will get from Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
And if he does that, he'll always pay off value.
Yeah,
I don't have
exactly.
a problem with it. All right, with that officially wrapping up the Zona at Chicago game, we'll move right along to my pick, which is the Tampa at New Orleans. That line is 48.5 over under, and it's really easy to see. Most people are all over the Saints, and I have zero problem with that. The reason why is because the Bucs gave up 4 touchdowns to rookie Marcus Mariota in week 1. I wouldn't be afraid to pay up for Breeze. I also wouldn't be afraid to pay up if I'm playing the guessing game with Cooks, Colston, Coleman even, and you're probably saying, who's Coleman?
Right.
Yeah, he's just the rookie that put up 14 fantasy points in week 1.
Yeah.
I think he's an easy fade this week. I don't want a piece of Coleman. I think the reason I think the reason why Coleman went off is because Colston and Cooks were locked down with the corners of Arizona.
Yeah.
And that left Coleman open. He has 0 corners to face. They have 0 corners to face this week. I do have multiple lineups. A couple where I'm leaving Breeze naked, and meaning I don't know which of these targets it's going to be, but I know Breeze is going to have a monster. He's cheaper priced than the other elite quarterbacks, so I've locked him in there. Guessed on none of the Saints, and built my lineup just basically around Breeze. And then, of course, I do have a couple stacks where I'm Breeze, Colston, Cooks, and I'm leaving Coleman off because he's too cheap. I think everybody's going to be on him, and that's the easy bandwagon play.
I mean, these guys at home, this is where they thrive. Every time they play at home, they love it down there in the dirty South. As far as the Who Dat Nation there,
In the defense optional down.
yeah, exactly.
Defense optional, bro.
And but like you said, Marcus Mariota had 4 touchdowns. Let's not forget about some guy named Bishop Sankey. Also had almost a career day last week.
Right.
So
right.
one of my guys that I'm definitely playing this week, and I'm going to talk about him as one of my players. But definitely throw some Mark Ingrams out there because that guy is going to have a monster. I'm calling it right now, monster game. And last week he had 8 catches for almost 100 yards. Now he didn't exactly, tear it up on the ground, but against the horrible Tampa Bay defense, I think he's just going to have an overall great game.
I mean, this game, I think the over hits here, and I think this game's easily 35-14 New Orleans. And I'll tell you where my 2 touchdowns are coming from. And this is the play that I don't think you should fade. Plug in Austin Seferian-Jenkins as your tight end at his price. I realize that they inflated his price, and he's pretty expensive, but Arizona's tight end, Daniel Fells, put up 18.5 points last week on the Saints. right? The Saints have been the bottom or second to bottom defense against tight ends in the NFL the last 3 seasons. Other than Austin Seferian-Jenkins, I don't want to do any guessing on Tampa Bay, but the stats say Austin Seferian-Jenkins should just light them up. But here's the ultimate problem. Do I trust Jameis Winston? No. Do I trust Mike Evans coming back off the injury? No. Do I trust V-Jax? Yeah, kind of, but I don't trust James Winston throwing us the ball.
Yeah.
Right? Do I trust Doug Martin behind that garbage offensive line? So even though I want to, and I love the human hamster. Like, no, I think if you're going, you have to have a piece of this. The Bucks have to score somewhere to keep the Saints scoring. I'm putting all of it on Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Is that just because he also had 2 touchdowns last week too, or are you looking at more from a New Orleans perspective?
I'm looking at it more from like New Orleans. This is clearly where the hole in New Orleans is. Yeah. Like the Bucks have to score some way. And Jameis Winston actually looked comfortable throwing to a tight end.
Yeah.
Which he didn't look comfortable throwing to wideouts. So.
And he's an atypical tight end. He's a former #1 draft pick. He is super tall. He's super athletic. Mm-hmm. He's a basketball player type tight end. I mean, he's
also a strutter.
He's a big Mike Evans. Yeah, he does cheer even though they're down, which is just. I mean,
hey, you got to get fired up about something.
But you know what? That's why you pick him on your weekly fantasy league. So you don't have to cheer for that son of a bitch every week.
All right, I think that pretty much wraps up the Tampa-New Orleans game. Let's move right along to Lear's last pick for us, which is the Jets at the Colts with an over-under line at 46.5. We've also seen some movement on that line as well. Lear, break that game down for us.
All right, so this is the Monday night primetime game, and obviously with the Colts coming off their complete dismantlement by the Buffalo Bills that they received to them. I think there's going to be a fire lit under their butts this week, especially with Andrew Luck, not performing very well, only throwing for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was 26 of 49 in his passing attempts. Especially too, Chuck Pagano, his head coaching position is on the hot seat. And you definitely don't want to start out the season as 0-2. For sure. So as far as that goes, I look for Andrew Luck to come out this week, have at least 50 passing attempts. I look for him to throw for 300, maybe 350 yards, at least 3 touchdowns. Now, I know the Jets defense, obviously with Revis Island being there, he's going to have his work cut out for him. But I think that he's definitely going to get it done this week. Other than that, the running backs here, Chris Ivory, he had a monster game last week against Cleveland. Indianapolis, they can't really have a good run defense either. They're in the early 20s as far as their run defense. So I look for Chris Ivory also to have a good game. But it also depends on the flow of the game as well. I mean, if they're going to be way behind against Indianapolis, they're going to end up having to throw the ball. So,
we found out last week that Ivory can actually catch balls.
Yeah.
Something new.
And, Brandon Marshall, he had a good game. He had six catches for 62 yards and a touchdown.
He looked like a number 1.
He did look good.
Brandon Marshall.
Yeah. Now, it is Ryan Fitzpatrick that is throwing in the ball. And he only had like 189 yards last week. If they're going to be down this game, they're going to have to throw the ball. So, but Frank Gore, I'm off the Frank Gore train this week.
I agree.
Until he proves it to me, I'm not going to be.
I have heard several savvy players talking about playing him as a contrarian play on the Monday Night Football. I completely disagree with that. What I would do if, the way I look at this game, and I'm leaning a little bit against what Lear's talking about here. I think the Jets defense is the play. And if I'm rolling out Monday night players, one of the ways I'm going about it is Jets D, Chris Ivory, and that's what I'm hitching my wagon to on the Monday night game. I don't think this Colts offense is in sync without Ty. I don't think he's going to be ready. I think the Jets front is too fierce to stop the run. And what we saw in the last game, when the Colts cannot get the run game going, Andrew Luck does not look the same on his play-action passing, and the field does not open up for him. I think the Jets lay a shocker here. The Colts go 0-2. I want the Jets defense and Chris Ivory. That's where I'm at on this.
Yeah,
one.
I'm definitely not with you on that.
Fair enough.
I feel like the last week's game, the Colts, even though I do like the Bills D, and we called that happening.
Yeah.
I think the Bills D played exceptional. At the same time, Andrew Luck did not have his best game.
No.
He did not look good. He started out cold. He continued cold till about halftime, and then he started finding his way, and they looked just like they normally do after that point. And that was even with T.Y. getting hurt.
Yeah, and he had a decent game. He had 8 catches for 88 yards.
Yeah, that's the problem with the...
and somebody's going to have to get that this week if he's going to be out of the game.
That's the problem with the Colts some of the time is of course you're guessing at it's Andrew Luck and then maybe somebody.
Yeah.
We don't know. It might be Dwayne Allen.
No,
it's
Dwayne Allen, Andre Johnson,
it could be anybody.
Dante Moncrief.
Here's what I will
Colby
tell you.
Fleener, the rookie Philip Dorsett.
If you are on Andrew Luck this week and you think they're going to light up the Jets,
Pick Andrew Luck. And
naked Andrew Luck,
Absolutely.
roll him by himself. Don't try to guess on a weapon and go that route.
But, and here's the other thing too that I like about them is they are just like the Saints. They are all like these dome teams. They play very, very well when they are playing at Indianapolis in their home field. And I think that he's going to come out, especially with a fire lit under his butt from what happened last week, and especially playing at home. You have to give them an extra oomph because they are playing at home versus playing on the road.
Well, I mean, I thought you were going to say that they also play the defense optional dome, and
Yes.
they do.
Yeah, they do.
But they're facing a legit defense, guys, and that's the problem.
I think Cromartie's banged up. I don't know what the Jets are exactly. Like, I feel like they're an okay
I
defense.
just know they're way
and they
better
play
than the butt
Browns.
fumble era Jets. Like, this is a different Jets team.
Well, and this is Bowles.
They played the Browns.
Todd Bowles, who's their coach, is a defensive guy.
They played the Browns, and they weren't actually, like, I mean, let's face it, the Browns were going in for a touchdown when their starting quarterback got injured.
No. I thought that was them. I thought that was them settling in. That would and once they settled in, the Jets were lights out.
Settled in to play a backup quarterback.
They even took a drive of the backup quarterback to settle in.
Right.
But once that happened, but I could be wrong. That's just where my gut's telling me this week. But I think that pretty much wraps up that game action, which moves us along to the more fun section of the show, where we're going to give you our bargain player of the week / sneaky play. We'll each come at you with one pick. Murr, who's your first pick for your bargain bin player or sneaky play this week?
Bargain bin is Philip Dorsett, 3,300. The reason that I'm saying Philip Dorsett, I really like Dante Moncrief more as a player. I think more people will be on him because he's going to start. It's going to be him and Andre Johnson.
Yeah.
But for some reason, you don't draft Philip Dorsett in the first round for nothing. Last week he kind of...
He had 2 catches for 45 yards.
Yeah, he went and ate a bunch of bowlings, like, the good stuff, and then shit the bed is what he did. A monster crap. Because he muffed a punt. He couldn't find another one, almost missed it. So he screwed.
Had the rookie.
He seemed to have the jitters a
Yeah.
bit, and that I feel like limited him on offense.
Sure.
And also game flow. I think in this one they're going to want to spread them out. They're going to want to get people away from the middle, and I think he's going to have to play. He was named their number 3 wideout, and he certainly didn't play that position last week. But I think with T.Y. out, he's going to.
All right. Lear, who's your bargain bin player of the week?
My bargain bin player, you guys are going to laugh because he's not really bargain bin, but it's a guy that I think is going to be a sneaky play this week. Oh. But I like Julian Edelman playing at Buffalo. Basically he costs $6,700, so he's not going to totally desecrate your salary. But I have a feeling that Buffalo is going to completely focus on Gronkowski after his 3 touchdown performance last week, and they're going to give all their attention over to him and basically leave Julian Edelman out there in the wind to fend for himself. So he had 12 targets last Thursday, had 11 catches for only 97 yards, so he didn't reach the 100-yard mark. But I definitely look for him this week, and he didn't have any touchdowns either. But I definitely look for him this week to at least get the same amount of targets, but at least reach that 100-yard mark and also catch a touchdown this week.
I love where your heart's at, bro, and I love that you have some Edelman man crush. I don't like the Patriots against the Bills this week, but we'll get to that in a little bit. My problem here is that I'm not sure that this is a bargain play. He's a little bit cheaper than what he should be.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's a sneaky play either. I just think that people are going.
20.
I just think people are going to be all over the Patriots. We know how much that Patriots bandwagon rides.
Right.
Like the only time we've seen ownership go low on Patriots players was when we didn't know what running back it was and you had to guess. And like that's the only times you get good ownership percentages on the Patriots players. That's my only concern there. But I'm sure you're gonna have plenty to say about my bargain bin player of the week / sneaky play, and that is Carlos Williams, running back of Buffalo. He's $3,300. Look, LaShawn is banged up with a hammy. He's missed practice all week, and the backup for the Steelers last week thrashed the Patriots. I think it happens again. I think Carlos Williams is a legit play. He put up north of 15 points last week. And that was just with them splitting carries. I think if LaShawn's hammy bothers him at all, or if he's limited, Carlos Williams has the ability to hit that 15-point where he more than pays off the 3-3 price tag, and what he allows you to buy is phenomenal. If LaShawn's out, he has the ability to go for the 30 burger against that terrible run defense against the Patriots, especially if the game flows where I have it being, which is more of a grinded out game versus the torch it that Lear has with the Edelman play.
But I also think too, even if LaShawn McCoy is okay, I think Carlos Williams will still get his touches. So
I mean,
Yeah,
at 3-3,
you got to start worrying about game flow and all that.
Right.
And
at 3-3 though, he literally only needs 10 points to pay off value.
yeah.
Like, if I get 15, I'm golden. If I get 20, awesome. And if he goes higher than that, like, you're gonna do damage, just like people did this last week.
I
with
feel like I'm
Carlos.
going to throw out a number 2 at this, which is
Okay.
Lance Dunbar, slot receiver / running back. $3,000 minimum value running back.
No, like that.
Same guy.
Another good play for the various reasons. I think those are all legit bargain plays this week, other than Lear's. But like, hey,
I got him. I threw out Lance Dunbar. I get 2.
Hey, Lear is acknowledged his hard on for the Patriots offense, and specifically Julian Edelman. It's okay, dude. It's okay. It happens in daily fantasy. That's something you'll see from everyone. So now that we've got our bargain bin players out of the way, let's look up for who we are paying up for production this week. Murr, who's the one guy you were willing to pay up for this week?
Julio Jones.
Julio Jones. Okay.
I go Julio just because coming off of a big game, going in another place that he could also have another big game. He's clearly talented. I don't love their O-line. They're going to have to throw a ton still. I don't know what the Giants are, but I know that their safeties suck. And Julio Jones.
Is your one concern there, though, that
I have concerns.
No. My question is that the Cowboys did keep the Cowboys in check. Like the Giants did keep
Absolutely.
Desi in check.
Here's the other question: is what is his percent ownage going to be?
Yeah, he's so expensive.
It's so expensive. It's not good. It's going to take care of it.
This is
You either really love Julio Jones or you're not going to play.
Sure.
And
I respect both sides of it.
And we've reached this this is that tipping point in daily fantasy. Everybody knows they want him on their lineup because of who he is.
Right.
You can't pass up 35 burgers, right? But is his price to the point where you just can't put the other lineup that you want around him?
Yeah.
If so, it makes sense to swerve and buy him because the ownership percentage is going to be minimal. But if not, and everybody's doing that, well, then free fade and go the other.
Yeah.
Limit your exposure. I honestly think you have to have exposure to Julio this week at some level. But I'm trying to limit as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, the one team that I had last week that had Julio on it was my lowest scoring overall team.
Yeah,
because he was basically the same price point of that.
Because you didn't listen to my value plays, because my value plays hit for the most part, other than ODB last week. Sorry about Owen Daniels' kid and Odell Beckham. That was a tragedy. But with that said, I'll just go ahead and
avoid Odell Beckham.
I will go ahead and segue into my pay up for production. I know we're doing a little bit out of order, but it fits the conversation. I'm going to pay up for Odell Beckham Jr. this week. I'm going to bank that Eli's figured it out. I know that's a lot to ask for. But he's 8,800. He's cheaper than Julio. I can swerve down, save and pay up for Julio. I think where the pack is going to save money this week is going to be on defense. That's usually what happens when we see somebody that you have to spend up for. They try to buy min-val defenses, and I think that's what the majority of people are going to do. I also wouldn't recommend that with some of the defensive matchups we have this week. So, I think paying up for Odell Beckham, saving that money will come in way handy a little later, and that's why I'm on Odell Beckham Jr., the ODB Jr., if you will. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I think the Atlanta defense, surprisingly, I was very, very surprised how much they held, Philadelphia in check as far as their wide receivers. Now, granted, Jordan Matthews got a lot of dump off passes, but that's not really Odell Beckham's forte. He is more of a route running, long receiving catch passer, and there weren't really any big plays like that last week. And I mean, I had Nelson Aguilar last week, and the guy had 1.5 points against Atlanta, but of course he didn't really get the targets either from Sam Bradford. But Jordan Matthews did have a 20 burger, but like I said, a lot of
had a 30 burger and they reviewed the touchdown.
But I mean,
that cost me hundreds of dollars.
But he did. It was between 8 to 12 yards to 5 yards here. He was basically the blanket. So as far as Odell Beckham, he's going to be the main guy for Eli Manning. I definitely think he's going to have a lot better week than he did last week. I'm not saying he's going to explode, but I think he'd definitely have a lot better week.
I need to take this moment to look Chip Kelly dead in the eyes. And when you have a receiver that clearly scores a touchdown, everybody on the field clearly thinks they've scored a touchdown, throw the little red flag. When it's on that giant jumbo screen right in front of you, look.
Yeah.
I don't think it's rocket science. But that's neither here nor there. Lear, who is your paying up for production this week?
My paying up for production guy this week, I'm going to go with a Steelers wide receiver in Antonio Brown. Brown, is basically the only legit wide receiver, in
Pittsburgh.
That's the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. Because the suspension of Bryant. But he had 11 targets last week, 9 catches for 133 yards and a touch. The touchdown came kind of dirty at the last minute. And he's not crazy expensive either. He's $8,800. He's the same cost as Odell Beckham. And, with something like that where, these two guys are playing, the 49ers don't have the best secondary either. So I look for Antonio Brown to have a monster game this week, and he's definitely a guy that I'd be willing to pay up to $8,800 for.
I have zero problems with it.
It's an interesting play because, again, I think it goes against the idea of the 1 week schedule. When we only have 1 week to go by, you're talking about
and they're playing
everybody
at home. And they're playing at home.
Well, in San Francisco, coming off of one game. Of course, that was against Minnesota with a beat-up line and many different other
Teddy
problems.
Bridgewater didn't play very well.
And they didn't. They were playing from behind. They were getting run all over. I mean, there were all kinds of problems.
No, I think you're right, and I would put more weight in that if San Francisco wasn't traveling on a short week cross country to make this play. Between the lag of when we see West Coast traveling to East Coast, they usually get beat up. But between that plus short week, plus him just being a monster, I think that play is legit. Basically, what we're trying to tell you is pick one of the top 3 wideouts and buy one, because you're going to need to. With that said, I think it's a perfect segue into the over-owned, under-owned. We're going to each pick one side. We'll start off with the over-owned players this week. And I will go ahead and start off. We'll run it back with me. And my over-owned pick this week is John Brown at 5,100 for the Arizona Cardinals. He had a good week last week. It wasn't phenomenal, but his price tag at 5,100. I've already seen NFL Network. I've already seen the guys on all the other channels and all the other podcasts talking about their love for John Brown.
The experts.
And the so-called experts, all the touts, are all up John Brown's behind, and they love the fact that he's 5,100. He was TD dependent, dude. Look at the stats. Without that TD, he doesn't even hit his value.
Yeah.
And without that TD, with that TD, he was only a 1.5 points behind Elfitz. I can spend $300 more to get the better receiver in Elfitz at $5,400.
Who had more targets.
Who had more targets, who's still the focal point of this offense. Yeah. I don't know what kind of crack people are smoking when they say John Brown is clearly the number one wideout here. They just didn't watch the game. They didn't look at the target counts. They haven't even looked at the stats. People are just blowing smoke up other people's rear ends.
They're taking the Matt Berry.
Pay the $300 and buy Elfitz. You will be much more happy than you will owning John Brown this week. Now, John Brown could go off, but the entire free world's going to be on him. Elfitz will have half the ownership percentages and should put up more points. That's my over-owned guy this week is John Brown. No. Lear, who's yours?
No, I definitely like that pick, man.
Thanks, dude.
My over-owned guy is going to be James Jones. Coming off the 2-touchdown performance last week against Chicago, and his price point is only $4,700. So min price guy there, and a lot of people obviously with the 2 touchdowns. Now obviously he didn't have a ton of catches. He only had 4 catches for only I believe it was like 20 some yards, but basically red zone threat only. Otherwise he wasn't really a factor in the game at all. But I think a lot of people, just based on the fact that he had 2 touchdowns, are going to be all over him. So I am definitely not on the James Jones play this week at all.
Yeah, I actually agree with you completely. Like the game, when you were doing the game breakdown, you talked about how poorly these teams pass on one another, especially for touchdowns and yardage. Like I think that shows that if anything, we're going to see a run game, and the tempo is not going to be what people think. That's another player that I've seen the touts all week long talk about, the touts and the so-called experts everywhere. Like they're all on James Jones. They're saying he's criminally underpriced. Well, guess what? If 50% of lineups have him in there and he doesn't reach value, like even if he does reach value, awesome. I can pick somebody else that will also get there, and then I'm different than half the field. Right? If he doesn't go off, I get a free jump on half of the field. Like, dude, do not listen to the touts when they tell you stuff like that. If there was a legitimate reason to be on Jones, be on him. But if you're going to be on Jones, in all honesty, I think you have to be on either the other wideouts and just assume it's going to be a game outside the data set we know between these two teams, or
and it's kind of like a James Jones Devontae Adams play, because he's only like $4,800, $4,900. So it's the same thing. And he only had 4 catches for 50-some yards last week, so he didn't blow up the world. But just based off his price point, and he's an Aaron Rodgers target, that everybody will be on.
I honestly see this game as being the one that really crushes people's dreams this week. I don't know what it is. I think people are going to be all over both passing sides, thinking it's going to be a shootout and it's going to be a running affair, and the points are going to get there, but it's going to be by the run. Do you have any thought on that?
Yeah, same.
All right. So, Murr, who's your over-owned pick of the week?
I went a little different. My over-owned pick is a guy that I actually like. I like at his value, but at the same time, everybody is going to be on him. Terrence Williams, 4,100. He is their number one for all intents and purposes for this week. He's going up in a volume offense. He's, the team they're playing is a volume offense.
Right.
They're going to move the ball well.
Yeah.
The Eagles can't stop anybody. And Terrence Williams, very productive last week, especially once Dez went down. They had an entire Terrence Williams drive to end the game, and I think that he's gonna hit his point value. I don't think there's any way he doesn't.
Yeah, and this is surprising to me too that DraftKings didn't alter.
It didn't jack. They jacked several people's prices, but not his, and not James Jones.
Right.
It's criminal. No, I agree with you, Murr. And out of all these cheap wideouts that we talked about, if there's one that I think is the most stone cold lock, it's Williams.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that as a lock to play that you have to have. There are scenarios where John Brown craps himself. There are scenarios where James Jones craps himself. I just don't know that the Cowboys can hang in that game without Terrence Williams putting up his points.
Yeah, I think it's as easy an argument as this is their legit number one receiver.
Right now,
He's 4,100.
Right.
He is their number one receiver. There's no way. And you're playing the Eagles.
And you get him for $1,000 less than John Brown, which is who everybody's blowing up.
Who everybody will be on.
Yeah, just ridiculous. I think that pretty much sums up the over-owned side of it. Now let's move to the under-owned side of it, and I will go ahead and start off the under-owned side again. And my under-own is going to surprise a lot of people because I'm going for somebody that's really expensive. And I think that's going to be Megatron this week at 8,200. He was only targeted 4 times last week. I've heard multiple people telling you to stay away from him, to stay away from Stafford. I wouldn't be surprised if Megatron doesn't get 10 plus targets this week. I also wouldn't be surprised if Megatron doesn't lay a 30 or 40 burger this week. Look, if you've watched what the coaches are saying in Detroit, they're talking about the fact that they are apologizing for the fact that Megatron was only targeted 4 times last week. Yeah, they're blaming it on poor game planning. Yeah. They're blaming it on poor play calling. I would be floored if this game plan doesn't come out with we are going to just throw to Megatron as many times as humanly possible. That's how we win games in here in Detroit. Who are we to think that we can win games without doing that? I just think that's where they go back to their bread and butter. I think he's under-owned. I think if you pay up, look for example, look at who we recommended for wideouts. We recommended guys all around that price range. Megatron's actually even cheaper than those guys, has the same ceiling, and is only 8,200 versus 88 or 92. Like,
and here's a swerve to that too is Golden Tate is questionable this week. So, you know, if he doesn't end up playing, I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of people will be more on Megatron, I think, if that's true. But even if he does play, he's got, you know, a little bit of an injury there. So, you know, he's not going to be 100% when Megatron is definitely 100%. So I definitely love that play. Sure.
I also wouldn't be afraid to stack Stafford and Megatron and with the injury, go Ebron. Throw a little Ebron in there, dirty tight end it, and I think you will be on a fairly small island with a lot of people in these GPPs this week. All right, actually, Lear, who's your under-owned player of the week?
I already kind of talked about it a little bit, but my under-owned guy is going to be Mark Ingram. I think a lot of people are going to overlook the fact, you know, that Mark Ingram is going to have a great matchup against Tampa Bay at home, especially too with C.J. Spiller being still out. And, you know, he had a pretty good week last week with almost 100 receptions. From Drew Brees.
100 receiving yards.
Yeah, receiving yards, I'm sorry. Not 100 receptions, but 100 receiving yards and 8 catches. And granted, he only had, you know, I believe it was 24 yards in 9 rushing attempts. So he wasn't tearing the world up with his rushing attempts. But I swear against the, you know, the defense of Tampa Bay, he's just going to be one of those guys that's going to blow up. And he's only $5,900. Now, I know that's not a $4,000 player, but, you know, $5,900 against that defense at home, I think it's going to be at least a 25 burger for Mark Ingram.
I mean, less talented backs have destroyed that a week ago.
And like I said, Bishop Sankey had his career day last week.
Who's never done anything before. And then he dropped, you know, a decent game. It wasn't even a blow-up game.
No, it wasn't. It could have been way more.
3 catches.
But I just think a lot of people are going to be focusing on other running backs matchups this week and overlooking this running back.
And essentially what Lear is saying is Helen Keller could run on the Bucs defense. So
why not this guy?
Why not this guy? Yeah, I agree, dude. I think he'll be under-owned. And the reason why I say this is, and Murray, you've seen this too from like listening to the radio and watching the podcast and stuff, people are all over this passing attack. They're not all over the rushing attack. And the problem is Lear can be right 2 ways, right? Lear can be right with this play if they start off with Ingram and Ingram owns the show and they get up on the Bucs early and then
just keep running the ball.
They just keep running. Or they can get up via the passing game and then they decide, you know, this is the lowly Bucs. Let's just put it away and hand off the ball to Ingram a ton of times, and we'll even throw to him when we need it on 3rd down.
Well, yeah, that was the part that I was impressed with last week was really the catching, because you know in years past it's always been you know, Robinson, those guys, they throw them out there to catch little screen passes and do all that, and last week dump off to Ingram. It was crazy.
I actually love the play of Lear. Murr, who's your under-owned this week?
My under-owned this week is a guy that took a healthy poo on everyone last week, of course. He went and also got some Chipotle and decided to get the business done. He crapped the bed hardcore. It is Greg Olsen.
Ooh, yeah.
Greg Olsen is valued at $4,900 this week. He is the number 3 costing tight end. But he's going up against Houston. Kelsey just destroyed them. Olsen's coming off a bad game. I just don't see.
And they're at home.
They're at home. I just don't see 2 weeks in a row.
I'm going to call a timeout for a second. Olsen saves his day if there wasn't a crap offensive pass interference call that should never have been made. He had a touchdown catch get called back that was brilliant, that was going to bail out his day, help all my lineups, and a crap call. So I don't think he necessarily had the unders day. That, he didn't have as many targets as he normally had. It wouldn't have been a great day, but
it would have got awful.
But he would have got back to that baseline that why we love Greg Olsen so much, or at least why I do, is the guy never falls below the 4, but the floor of 10. But his 2.1 without that touchdown
one catch for 1
yard.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, there's no doubt, and that's why I'm right, and that's why I like Greg Olsen this week. I just don't think he does it 2 weeks in a row. I do think the Houston pass rush is fairly solid, but at the same time,
he's going to be Cam Newton's blankie.
I think so, and Jacksonville was kind of a slugfest. It was just kind of an ugly game all around. It was hard to watch.
Both of them get their legs underneath them.
Yeah, it was just brutal. So I feel like Greg Olsen
Houston's one of those teams that, as good as their linebackers are, traditionally get torn up against the tight end.
Their safeties suck.
Yeah.
I mean, they
and the reason why is like if they're dropping their linebackers to cover the tight ends, they're a lot better. But when they're rushing their linebackers and the safeties are having to cover the tight ends, that's when they get in trouble. That's how the Chiefs expose them.
I just figured the reason why is Romeo Crennel is lousy.
And we can say that as Chiefs fans.
And you know what? And they've decided to pick up every ex-Chief to play in their secondary that they can get.
All right, I completely agree with that. I think he'll be under-owned, and I love it. He's actually a staple piece. And a lot of my lineups, guys, all I can see to you, I'm double donking tight end again. I missed last week, but it didn't mean it was the wrong play. Like, as we saw some of the winning lineups, for a lot of the qualifiers, double donking tight end.
That philosophy was
it saves you value. Like we saw it with Eifert, we saw it with Austin Swearinger-Jenkins, we saw it with Kelsey, we saw it with Martellus Bennett, even and we saw people with the Jordan Reed. We saw a lot of people trying it with Olsen that didn't work and Cameron that didn't work. But you know what? Like, those guys are going to get there. I'm really convinced. But with that said, let's wrap it up, and we end our show with everyone's favorite, the dumpster fire of the week. I'm smelling some hot, wet garbage. Lear, who's your pick for the hot, wet garbage of the week?
My dumpster fire of the week is also a New England Patriot. He is coming off suspension this week and going up against that vaunted Buffalo Bills defense. But I'm going with LeGarrette smoking the blount. This guy, he's 5K this week. He's coming off of a suspension. He didn't play last week, so he's not used to the contact. He didn't play much, really, hardly in the preseason. I just don't look for him to have a very good game at all, and I'm just completely fading this guy all the games because New England's going to end up passing the ball majority of the time. So
I will jump in. I was going to save mine for last because I think it's the most bold, but I think it goes kind of in tandem with Lear's. My dumpster fire of the week, the garbage I'm smelling, is the New England Patriots. And I mean all of them. I'm not playing a single Patriot this week, and it may come back to bite me in the butt, but I don't care. Look, I think this Bills defense is for real. I think that they're ready to play. Dude, exactly what, we're back in a situation with Blunt back in the mix that you don't know which running back is going to be. So I'm never going to try to get in Belichick's mind there, right? The Buffalo Bills are amazing against tight ends, so without having to double team Gronk, they're one of the best teams in the league at covering tight ends. I think they're going to be able to handle Gronk. That's not a problem. They shut down both amazing weapons for the Colts last week at tight end. Did you hear anything out of either one of those boys? Whether they both catch a ball, maybe two?
Yeah, Colby Fleener had a 2-point conversion, and Dwayne Allen had a touch, but that was it.
I mean, but they were both two catches apiece.
They were under 10 to 8 points.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that they can keep Gronk in check, especially if they pay attention. I'm not even worried about them keeping Edelman in check. Look, the Patriots' offensive line is terrible. The Bills have an amazing pass rush. I think that pass rush gets all over Brady all day long. I think this game looks very similar to the Chiefs game on primetime Monday Night Football last year against the Patriots. Yeah. I don't think the Patriots are ready for this team. I think that everybody and their brother is on them. I have the Patriots being my dumpster fire of the week.
And I tell you what, I mean, Buffalo coming off that huge win against the Colts, being at home again. That fan base is going to be loud, and they are definitely going to be.
They're trying. The fan base is actually, but they're attempting to break the Chiefs record for the loudest stadium in the NFL this weekend. Like, this team is pumped up.
Yeah.
They finally have a contender. Like their defense is so good with Rex Ryan at the helm. Like, the Buffalo fans are behind this new Rex Ryan regime. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't shock the world and the Patriots. That's why the Patriots is my dumpster fire.
Nice.
Murr, who's your dumpster fire of the week? And is it even as remotely bold as the Patriots?
No. No, it is not.
So who is your dumpster fire, sir?
My dumpster fire is, I'm just going to continue to pick Andy Dalton every week. Just because I know I may not be right, but one of these days I will hit it. And it will be Andy Dalton. Because Andy Dalton someday will crap in his hand and he'll fling it at people. He's just he's so awful.
All right.
The Red Rock, you got to pick against the Ginger.
I won't, and here's why. I've actually built a few.
Cincinnati. Or Cincinnati's going.
They're going against San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. Like, I am actually the other way, and I've actually started some stacks
He likes
this way.
Andy Dalton.
Absolutely, dude. The Red Rifle at home is freaking legit, and just like we talked about with Matty Ice, his touchdown interception ratio at home is roughly 3-1. On the road, it's 1-3.
Yeah.
And he lit it up last week in Oakland. Granted, it's Oakland, but that was on the road. We don't see that from Andy Dalton.
Right.
Now he gets to come home. AJ Green was under-owned last week. I think he's under-owned again.
Yeah.
I have no problem, and I've started a couple of my teams, especially for the qualifiers, where I started Andy Dalton with AJ Green and built around him. I'll just disclose that to you guys right here. I'm going to disagree with Murr on that dumpster fire of the week play. You don't mess with the Ginger Ninja at home. On the road, I like your analysis, but at home, I'm rolling with him all day. But in all honesty, Murr could be right, and the game flow could be all Hill, all Giovanni Bernard against that terrible San Diego run defense.
It's just going to be running. Yeah. I just don't think it's going to happen.
No, which is why I make qualifier lineups, right? Like, the reason why I'm making qualifier lineups starting that way is because majority of qualifiers in there are going to be. So if I'm on an island by myself. So know that's how we're playing. And with that said, we're wrapping up another week's action with the Ultimate Fantasy Football 3-Way. Hopefully you enjoyed our breakdown. Hopefully you got some good nuggets of information that you'll use this week to win you some money. Because if we're not winning the money this week, we hope it's you, especially using some of our information. And hopefully we helped out. Remember to favorite us on Facebook, Twitter, share us. YouTube, favorite the channel. It helps us out. It helps you guys out, by getting our videos up there quicker and with more of a priority. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in. As always, if you have any comments, feel free to leave those for us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or on fantasydonks.com. We love hearing from you guys, and this show's all about you. So whatever you guys want, we'll provide within our means. So have a good one, guys, and let's take down some GPPs and some qualifiers this week.
Good luck this weekend, everybody. Have a good weekend.
And